now that we understand the main concepts of how much work it takes just to go ahead and process an individual's paycheck, I've already done the calculations for you here. So all we can do is just sit there and plug in all of our answers here. So once again, we're going to rinse and repeat. So again, this is if you are receiving from another outsourced company who did the payroll process for you. They should give you all the accounting information, all the accounts that you had to deduct, and so on and so forth. And let's go ahead and get started. So in this case, we're going to go ahead and put in Mario Mabila. Okay, so I'm going to write check number 1008 for the 14. All right, and he's going to earn, his net pay is going to be $671.16. So let's go ahead and take a look. So his total salaries and earnings is going to be $900. If you remember when you plugged in his timesheet, he earns $25 an hour, and of course he requested 4 hours of sick vacation pay or time off. So that's why it's split between $900 and $100 here. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's process that check for Mr. Mario. Okay. So again, Mario Mabila, it's going to come from your checking account. Make sure this is always true. Today is going to be the 14th. Okay, his check number is 1008. Okay, overhead, you don't have to have a tag for that. What are the items that we're going to be listing out? First thing is going to be salaries and wages expense. Salaries and wages. Okay. Right, we said he earned $25 an hour and he only claimed 36 because 4 hours he claimed as vacation. Okay, so I could give you $900. Okay. Then he did vacation, which he claimed 4 hours for at $25 an hour. Okay. Then we have to start listing out all of the extra stuff, which is going to be all the taxes that he is subjected to have to pay from his paycheck. So in this case, federal income tax, employee social security, employee Medicare, the health benefit, and the 401k. Okay. So in this case, we're going to start with the first one, which is the federal income tax, okay, which we said to be based off of his earnings. So in this case, we have negative $52.34. Okay. Then we have employee social security. So employee social security, which we said was negative 0.62%. So $62 even. And then Medicare, employee Medicare, which we have it to be $1.45%. So that should give you $14.15 or $14.50. And then we said we got Medicare for $150, or I'm sorry, health insurance for $150, and then the employee 401k deduction. So we said health insurance, employee health insurance. So that's going to subtract $150. And we said he's also going to put a 401k for his deduction. So remember, that's employee is the deduction, which is going to be of his paycheck. Okay. So there you go. Now that we have all that, he's going to be walking away with $671.16, which that is true. Okay. Okay. And then, of course, we're going to go ahead and identify the classes for every single one of them as admin. Okay, there you go. So once everything looks good, you can go ahead and click Save and Close. There you go. So we just paid Mr. Mabula. Okay. And now we need to do the company's responsibility for having Mario as an employee. So in this case, we're going to go ahead and put in our fourth adjustment journal entry here. And we're going to do payroll taxes, company Social Security, company Medicare, FUTA, SUTA, workers' compensation, and then our company's responsibility for healthcare and 401k plan. Okay. So once again, we're going to go to the plus new for the journal entry, because in this case, you can use the expenses, so just make sure you code it to the correct account, since you're not going to pay for it just yet, so you're going to have to code it to each liability. So in this case, this is just the easiest way to do it, is just go through the journal entry. That way you can save yourself some time here. Okay. Adjustment entry 4, so good, that's there. So again, we have payroll taxes to be paid. So I'll just put tax, see if that will show up. Payroll, payroll taxes to pay. Okay, is our expense. We have company Social Security. Company Social Security. We have company Medicare. We have federal unemployment. Then we have state unemployment. And then we have workers' compensation. And then we have company health insurance. And then we have 401k match. Okay, so let's go ahead and list those items out. So here we have company Social Security, which was, I believe it was $62, right? Then we had Medicare for, I believe it was like $14.50. Okay. FUTA, we said, was going to be 1.5%, so that should be $15. SUTA, we said, was 1.25%, which is going to be $12.50. Okay. And then we said workers' compensation is 1.3%, which gives you $13.60. And then we said we would put in health insurance for $150. And for this, we said we would agree to match 3%. Okay. So therefore, a total of $297.60 worth of taxes. Okay, $297.60. $297.60 is how much payroll taxes. $297.60 is going to be the total payroll taxes. And description, again, you could say Mario's earnings, Mario's check, Mario's benefits, whatever you want to put in here. So I'm going to go, I don't remember what I put it the last time. I'm going to do Mario's payroll expense. Okay. Copy this all the way down. Okay, and then we also need to identify the class is going to be admin. I think we got one more. Okay. All right, so once everything looks good, I can go ahead and click Save and Close. Last person that I need to put in is going to be Mr. Ernest. Now, as a person who owns the company, there are some restrictions and some regulations of what a company can do for the owner. But in this case, let's go ahead and add in our very last check here for Ernest Withers, okay? And he's going to get paid at the end of the month. So in this case, since he's the owner, he has the ability to, once again, claim his money whenever he'd like. But in this case, he's going to get paid at the end of the month. And his total pay is going to be for $4,815.09. Since he's the owner of the company, he says that he could get a salaries earning of $75,000. So if you remember from adding our employee yesterday, he said he's going to be getting $75,000, which he's going to be receiving roughly what was it, $72 or $73 or something like that, $75 an hour. So in this case right here, he's going to earn for this paycheck $6,250. Okay. And here are the other taxes that he is subjected to. So he has to pay into federal, he has to pay into so his Social Security and Medicare, and he is also going to put in $500 for his health insurance, okay? Because maybe he's covering his wife and his family. We don't know. Okay? So in this case, $6,250 is his standard pay. He doesn't get any vacation hours or anything like that because he owns the business, so he can clock in whatever hours he chooses. Okay? So time and not time entry. Sorry. We're writing a check. Okay, and it's going to be to Ernest Withers. Okay, make sure it's checking, and he's going to get paid at the end of the month. Okay, and his check is going to be $1,007. Okay, once again, overhead, and this is what we're going to put in here. First things is salaries and wages. Salaries and wages. Okay. Okay. Salaries and wages expense. Okay. For the total amount of $62.50. Okay. And then he's going to have to be paying into Social Security. Oh, sorry, federal income tax first. federal income tax for a total of $456.78. Okay. Then he's responsible to pay into his Social Security. So in this case, employee Social Security and Medicare. Employee Medicare. Okay. Which is 6250 times 60%. Okay. Which should give you negative $387. Okay, and 50 cents. Then we have his Medicare for that 1.45%, which will give you $90.63. Okay. And then health insurance for $500. And that's all. He doesn't put into his own pension because he owns the business, so therefore the business should be covering it for him. Right? He doesn't have to put his own money in there because the business is his. So in this case, 401k. Oh, wait, no, Medicare or health insurance in this case. Employee health insurance for $500. So once again, he should be walking away with a check of $4,815. $4,815.09. Okay, make sure that you have all of this flagged as admin. Oh, whoops. Hit the wrong button there. Admin. There you go. So there you go. Again, he has less benefits or he has less things, responsibilities. The only thing he has to do is just pay into his federal. Okay. Once everything looks good, you can go ahead and click Save and Close. And then again, rinse and repeat. Do the last one, which is going to be entering in our last general journal entry for the responsibilities for paying into Ernest's portion of the company's portion. Okay, so in this case, we got payroll taxes to pay. Payroll expense, payroll taxes to pay. Okay, then we got company Social Security, company Medicare, okay. We got FUTA, we got SUTA. Let's see, company Social Security, company Medicare, company federal unemployment, state unemployment, workers' compensation, and then you get the 401k match. Okay. Federal unemployment, state unemployment, workers' comp, and he gets the 401k match. No health insurance because he owns the company. Okay. So in this case, you got the 387.50. Okay, so again, for the company Social Security, which we said was 6250 times 0.62. And then we said 6250 times 0.1145. Okay. We said this one, it was 0.15% for $93.75. Okay, for 78.13. Okay. And then next one's workers' compensation for the 6250 we said was 1.36%, which gave us $85 even. And then the medic 401k match, which was what, 3%, which gave us $187.50. Okay, so that means grand total of taxes to pay for having earnest work is $922.51. $922.51. Once again, description is earnest's payroll taxes or payroll expense, excuse me. I think I put expense, not tax. Okay. Copy that all the way down. Okay. And of course, make sure you also put the class here because we will be flagged if we did not assign a class. One last one. Okay. Once everything looks good, save and close. Okay. So now that we finally put in everybody's payroll information now it is time to finally pay our taxes and liabilities, right? We need to pay for our taxes. Now, depending on when you file for your 940 or your 941s, which is your federal taxes, state will depend on whether you have state taxes or not. So if you remember from yesterday's lesson, we signed up for the EDD for the state. In this case, that is exactly what we need to do is we need to determine how much money we're going to pay the federal agent, which is through the EFTPS, okay? So we're going to do everything electronically. Now, your job here is depending on what it is and how much you set up. Oftentimes, it is going to be looked at how much money you owe the federal government and how big your company is will be determining how much your pay frequency is for paying back the federal government for payroll, okay? Now, again, it depends on the size of your company and what kind of company you establish yourself as. So once again, an example, if you're a sole proprietor, you can get away with making quarterly payments or even payments at the end of the year, okay? But if you're looking at a corporation such as Walmart, right, who have billions of employees who are processing payroll every other week to pay those individuals, right? They're collecting billions and billions of dollars to federal payroll tax expenses. So therefore, the best thing is that the government's going to go after those major corporations because they are producing those billions and billions of dollars, and they would require those companies to pay every other week that they're not having payroll on. So if they're doing a bi-weekly payroll schedule, that means the other every other week that they're not paying their employees, they must pay the payroll taxes because it is the easiest money the government can get from corporations, right? Especially because everything is done electronically. You are required to go onto a website and submit your federal payroll tax payments through the virtually online through an EFT, which is an electronic funds transfer, okay? You are not going to send a check, especially do you think Walmart's going to send $1 billion check to the federal government? I don't think so. So in this case, that is why it is something that you need to know that everything's done electronically. So first thing we got to do is we got to ensure what our total numbers are for the payroll items. So you can either do one or the other. You could run a report on your balance sheet so you could see all your liabilities all in one sitting, right? So here's a screenshot of what it should look like. Or you can actually go through your chart of accounts and look at your balances manually. Okay, so in this case, let's go ahead and show you that example of where I just told you to do. So if I go to reports, right, and let's say I go to it usually is a favorite. So here's the balance sheet right here. All right, I'm going to go ahead and click on that balance sheet and it should create the balance sheet for me right as I click on it. Okay, so this is the report section, which we'll look at tomorrow. Okay, and when you click on it, it should load the page. So if it's not loading, just give it some time. Again, okay, let's do this again. You go to reports. We're going to click on balance sheet. Okay. So in this case, it looks like it's a glitch on my end. So I'm just going to go to my chart of accounts and be able to look up my liabilities that way. Okay, it's not working on my end. It must be my internet. So in this case, liabilities, current liabilities. So anything that's under payroll. So like I've mentioned before, right now, my company health insurance should be at $300, right? We're not looking at that. We're looking at federal taxes. So in this case, we're going to skip those. Right here, Medicare. So company Medicare should be at $117. My company Social Security should be at $500. My employee health insurance, and not that one. Let's look into federal income tax withholdings is a total of $541.52. Federal unemployment is at $121. Okay, and other things like that. Okay, so let's take a look and compare to what I have showed here. Okay, so $534 is for Social Security, $121 for federal unemployment, which is correct. Okay, so $117 for Medicare, $500. Yes. So let me double check the federal unemployment real quick. Federal unemployment. Federal unemployment should be $121.05. So yes, so that's why it's important that you do everything so that everything matches up. And of course, state taxes, which we will pay the ADD, will be for $108. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and make a payment. I'm going to schedule a payment to pay the federal government through an EFT. So once again, what you're going to do is when you are ready to make your payroll tax payments, right, to the federal government. So again, you need to go to the official website to go ahead and do an EFT or log in and use your bank account to pay for the liabilities, right? But in this case, they do recommend you, so through the payroll center, you should have the ability to pay your liabilities right then and there in the payroll center. But in this case, because we're doing everything manual, at the end of the day, you're still going to have to log into that website and pay it virtually online, okay? So this is just us coming back and saying, okay, now that we cut the check, we can go ahead and record that we cut the check, or in this case, we're going to do an EFT, so we're going to use an expense account or the expense tab to go ahead and record this because this is an EFT, meaning we're not writing an actual manual check, we're using other forms of payments. Okay, so in this case, we're going to make one for the EFTPS, and we're going to make it at the end of January. So we're going to do monthly payments. It's going to come out of our checking account for an EFT for overhead. And the categories is we're going to list out our federal income tax We're going to do our employee Social Security, employee Medicare, company Social Security, company Medicare. And of course, if you choose to, there is different forms for different federal things. So in this case, as you can see, I did not include my federal unemployment. Federal unemployment is your other different tax ones. So you have two different tax codes. You're right. You have the one that's mainly for one and mainly for the other. So in this case, we're just going to pay for my actual payroll for now, which includes the FICA, the FICA, and the federal income tax withholding. Okay, FITW. Okay, for a total of $1,776. So again, we're going to go ahead and look at that table again. Make sure you write down your numbers. In this case, I already have written it down for you. And you're just going to go ahead and list out your categories and make your payments. Okay? So as you can see, this is my chart of accounts. Right now, I have those outstanding balances correct. Watch what happens when I actually go ahead and create my expense and use those accounts. Okay, so who am I going to make a payment to? The EFTPS. There they are. Checking. Now the form of payment, right? If you don't have it in there, it says ACH, which is a term that we use for credit cards. So when a individual person pays with a credit card, it usually goes to the ACH. But in this case, this is going to be a direct link from our checking account to their account there. So I'm going to put EFT in there. Okay. All right, stands for Electronic Funds Transfer. Okay. Reference number is going to be up to you what that is. The date's going to be for January 31st. Okay. Location's going to be overhead. So once again, I'm going to go ahead and list out my categories here, starting with the first one, which is the federal income tax withholdings. So my federal income tax, I'm going to list out my company Social Security, company Social Security. I'm also going to do company Medicare. Okay, and I'm also going to include employee Social Security, right? We're going to pay for that as well. Employee Social Security, and we're going to do employee Medicare as well. Okay. So once again, we said that our federal income tax withholdings right now has a grand total amount of for 541.32, 541.32. Okay, and I'm putting it as a positive number. Okay, and then let's see. My Social Security is 534 cents. Okay, or I'm sorry. Let me make sure I pick the right one. Social Security is $534. Medicare is $117.02. Medicare. So if you can't see it, you can always drag the column. So Medicare is $117.02. Okay. Employee Social Security should be the same as above here. Oh, it's supposed to be 542, right? So let's see, 534. Must have made a typo there. 534. Okay. And then the employee Medicare should be that 1702. Okay. Since I'm only going to pay those taxes first, we racked up a total of $1775.94. Is that correct? 1776. So far, I'm off by $1. Actually, I'm off by 50. Okay, let's do this again. So let me see, 541.22. I think that was supposed to be 32. Yes. 54132. 54132. Okay, and there you go. 177604. Okay. Oh wait, yes, 04. So now that everything matches my table here, right, I can go ahead and proceed with my check. So again, I'm going to address here. My class is admin. Okay, so there you go. And I'm going to go ahead and make my payment. So I'm going to save and close. Okay. So then now, when you actually take a look at your chart of accounts, notice this. All my federal taxes. So let me go ahead and locate them, my current liabilities. My federal taxes is 0, 0, 0. Why? I collected the money by making it a negative, and then I paid it off, so that made it account balance 0. So that is exactly why you need to know what you're doing when you're doing this, because it's important that you are very careful when you enter in your numbers. Okay, so there you go. I made a payment to my federal taxes. Okay. And let's go ahead and complete the second one, where we're going to go ahead and make a payment to the EDD for the state, right? If you want to do this one too, it's okay. We could skip on forward to this one. I'm going to go ahead and just do the EDD an example real quick, and then for homework, go ahead and do this other one for that federal unemployment. Usually they're paid separately. They're never paid together due to the different tax forms. So again, the 940 is going to be your Social Security and Medicare, where your 941 is going to be your federal unemployment. So make sure you do know that. There are two different tax forms. You pay them to the same person, but they're going to be for two different transactions. Okay. And let's go ahead and do that EDD for the state unemployment for that $100.88. So once again, how do I do that? I'm just going to create an expense, because we are not physically writing a check to them. So you're going to use the expenses for any transactions that you pay for, other than writing an actual check that you're using the Intuit program to print out for you. So in this case, this is to the EDD. Here they are. Okay, checking. Date is still the 31st, and we're going to use an EFT transfer, no reference, overhead, and this one's for the state unemployment. Okay, which we're coding it to be $100.88 for the class of admin. Okay. So you are paying electronically $100.88 to the federal government. So let's confirm $188 on January 31st and save and close. Okay. So again, now if I check my chart of accounts, my state unemployment should be 0. Okay. You want to double confirm. Okay, so current liabilities. Right, state unemployment is now 0. So that is making payments to the agencies. Okay. Last section of the day is to look at payroll reports. So again, if you go ahead and go to your reports section, you will see that there are only a few things that you can do. You can keep track of the reports for payroll summary, but in this case, you definitely would need the payroll service to be on for this to be able to view this for payroll summary or payroll details, because what it does is it takes an account of all the payroll items and be able to produce that for you. So unfortunately, we don't have that. And we also can see our tax payments and so on and so forth. But we don't have that, but so we can do time tracking reports. Okay, that is something we can see because, again, we entered in our employees' time, okay, through the timesheet. But the other payroll things that you're looking at, once again, anything that you put in there, it will not actually affect anything that's in your payroll center. It won't keep track of it because, again, you need to use the payroll subscription for it to do that for you. So that's just a downside when it comes to doing things manually. But in this case, it is 100% doable. And this is also in case you do, for instance, decides to outsource your payroll services to someone else, okay? So in this case, you are going to go to not sales, okay, not what you owe, expenses, and vendors, sales tax, no, employees, okay? So this is where you can use your employee center contact list. You can do your time activity like I've mentioned, but for this section here, like I've mentioned, you won't have the ability to view any payroll reports if you do not subscribe to the payroll subscription, okay? But you have them here, okay? So time activity or time tracking by employee. Hopefully it will work. Nope. So it's definitely a glitch on my end that my report center is not working, but you guys can go ahead and do it on your own to see if it's working on your end and be able to view it. Okay? All right. And that concludes chapter 14. Okay? So here again, just a friendly reminder in case you don't remember me telling you this, at the end of every PowerPoint, there are a bunch of video links that help you be able to review this material yourself without going through these lecture videos, right? Because these lecture videos are going through the Imagine photography. These ones are straightforward ones that that are made by Intuit themselves that teach you how to use a certain section in certain areas. Okay, so make sure you do know that these are links that Intuit themselves have provided for you to be able to show you how to use some of the functions and things like that. Okay, so just a friendly reminder. Okay. All right. Any questions in regards to chapter 14? No questions? Okay. So then let's get started with the multiple choice, right? Your objective here is to select the best answers for each of the following. So, number 1, okay, to properly affect payroll liabilities, which workflow should you use to pay the payroll taxes? Okay. Okay, so rule of thumb here is you will never use a check. Okay. You will never record a bill. You would not run payroll to pay your tax liabilities. You would definitely pay them through the payroll tax center. But remember, this is only a condition. If you do not pay for the subscription, you unfortunately will not have access to this payroll tax center. Okay, so again, I mentioned this many times before. If you have it, it will do everything for you automatically, include help you run your payroll, help you pay your payroll tax expenses, so you would definitely pay them through letter D, payroll tax center. Okay. Number 2, okay, voucher style checks, okay, when used for processing payroll may contain what? So voucher style checks is when you print your checks out, okay? So if you remember from way back when, I've talked about this before in chapter 4, what the different types of styles of checks you can print out. And the voucher style, I gave an example. What does it do? What would it include?
It'd just be A.
It'd be A, right? All the earnings and tax withholdings. Just so again, voucher styles where it gives you description of what the paycheck is or what the check is for. At the bottom should be a perforated line for you to cut your check. So at the very top, we gave this an example. I said it's used primarily for things like payroll, where it will give you all the payroll information. So again, you can have your pay stub information at the top, and then at the bottom you'll have your check at the bottom. Okay, so in this case, A is correct. Okay. Number 3, the payroll tax liability report identifies.
I imagine that's B.
B is correct. It is the tax liabilities amounts by payroll item. Yes, so in this case, remember, we don't have the ability to see that. Okay. Number 4, okay, which statement is true?
I'm just going to say A.
Yes, A. You can print your pay stubs at any given time. So yes, for any reason that your employee needs to have a pay stub for any reason, usually you are obligated to give them their first copy. But if they lose that copy or they need it for something else, they have every right to request for another copy. So that means you can print out pay stub information over and over, especially for tax season. You give them their W-2 form, but you know what I mean, right? You can also give them their pay stub information at any given time. B says the pay stubs can be printed using standard 3-up checks. No, you don't. You're not paying anybody to print a pay stub. You know what I mean? You don't print it on a check stock. And then C, if you find an error on a past paycheck, you should delete. Never, ever, ever delete. Just edit, okay? Number rule from here, so that's definitely not true. You never delete anything unless stated otherwise. And then D, of course, you cannot void a paycheck. Of course you can, right? Especially if your employee loses their check, you can always reprint. And I believe you can read your book on that portion on how to reprint checks in case your employee loses their check and so on and so forth, right? Best rule of thumb is to just enter in a blank check and then process that one as their new check and then void this one so you don't come across messing up your numbers, okay? So in this case, there you go. Number 5, okay, to begin processing your payroll.
I'm going to say D.
D is the correct answer. In the Employee Center, click on Run Payroll button. So yes, down below, right, when we got to the Employee Center, if you click on the more actions you can either edit, you can either make the employee inactive, or you can run payroll. They give you those 3 options. Okay. Number 6, QuickBooks Online automatically calculates paychecks using information from the following sources, except
I'm going to say D.
Except the employee expenses report. Yeah, the employee's not going to have an expense report. You won't be able to get any information from that. You will definitely get the information from all the previous paychecks. Yes, right. We have that's called the year to date information, YTD, if for sure on a paycheck. Okay. And of course, the employee's timesheet, of course, right? That's the purpose why we have taught you how to use the timesheets to report the employee's activities. And of course, the employee's tax settings in the employee's record. So in this case, because we didn't activate our payroll system, we had to put those in the notes. But when you do activate that payroll system, yes, you have to put in your W-4 information from your employee to go ahead and have those settings so then QuickBooks know how to calculate the federal income tax withholdings. Okay, so in this case, everything is correct except for D. Okay. All right, number 7 is a split question here, right? With the QuickBooks Online Core Payroll subscription, okay, which functions cannot be submitted directly from QuickBooks Online? So those are your choices.
I'm going to say D.
For number 8 or number 7, sorry, is D. That is correct, right? All of the above can be submitted directly into the QuickBooks Online Core Payroll. So again, of course, you're able to submit the state payroll tax forms. Yes, right? But it just depends on what state that you're filing for. So again, the core allows you to set up your employees, set up the payroll process, including what items that you're going to do for payroll, and also it gives you the ability to pay your taxes. Okay, so again, 940 is the federal taxes. All right, and a W-2 again is going to be also for the tax records that you either submit to the deeder, or you either submit it, or you submit this and give this to your employees, right? It's the track record of the year-to-date information of all the earnings that each employee does, and as well as all of the taxes that you paid. Okay. All right. Number 8. Okay. Which of these is not true about auto payroll?
I'm going to say B.
B as in boy is correct. There is no way to edit each run. So in this case, this was also a question that we had yesterday, where yes, if you have a person who is a salary based earning, right, their check is going to be the same exact check. So yes, you can do what's called an auto payroll, where they're processing it over and over. But what if that person decides to call in sick? You can manually override the automation. Okay, so yes, you have the ability. So in this case, this is definitely not true that you can't edit the information. Yes, you can. Okay. Number 9, the payroll summary report shows
I'm going to say D.
D is correct, right? It shows the information, the detail of each employee's hours, earnings, taxes, and net pay. Yes, hence the word payroll summary. Okay, so this one's straightforward, but if you read your book, you would automatically know, because they do give you a little overview of that report. Okay, number 10. Okay, if the P liabilities window shows incorrect tax amounts due, the problem can or could be caused by. So number 10.
I'm going to say D.
It can be caused by any of the following, right? It could be caused by incorrect user entry. So again, we all can fat finger a lot of things. Okay, we can be writing a check to pay the taxes. Yes, never do that, right? Because the reason we don't write a check to the taxes is because if you are subscribed to the payroll subscription, you have to go through the payroll center. But in this case, I didn't have a payroll center, so I used the expenses tab, which is okay. That's the second option you can do if you choose a manual payroll system. But for this case, you want to know that, for instance, when you're trying to pay a bill, you cannot use a check to pay a bill, right? You have to use bill payment, right? To pay an invoice off, you have to use receipt payments, not deposit the check right away. So in this case, this is the same idea where if you want to pay a federal or state payroll tax liabilities, you cannot write a check. You have to go through the payroll center. And of course, users overriding calculations. Yes, oftentimes you definitely do not want to do that. If you're using the payroll subscription, it should be automated for you. It should automatically calculate for you. But again, us humans, we can also make errors when we do our own calculations, right? If we're calculating, 1.25%, maybe we accidentally put 1.52%. Anything can happen in our calculation. So again, we can also enter in or overriding that actual amount over can cause you to have discrepancies in your payroll liabilities or errors. Okay. Number 11. Okay. To have data from timesheets affect an employee's paycheck.
Again, D.
D. Okay, any of the above. Okay, you're gonna use the weekly timesheet again, and of course it's or you could either use the single time activity. In this case, they don't actually have the weekly time anymore. It's actually you're entering in as a single activity. You get to view your activity on the week, but you're gonna be entering in every activity as a single way. So again, that is a new addition to your book. So make sure you do follow along. I believe in your book it tells you if your QuickBooks looks different, this is a reason why. They actually got rid of one of it. Again, it's a program. They're always going to constantly update it. Okay, so in this case, it's actually called the single time activity now. And of course, if you use QuickBooks Time. Yeah, so if you use the QuickBooks Time subscription, you have the ability to have that clock in, clock out tower, right? Where you physically have your employees clock in by logging into their profile and clocking in and then logging in out with their clocking out. You get the point. So in this case, yes, you can be able to use all three items here. Okay? And because with this, I hope you guys know that when you have the payroll subscription, the enter time feature is free. It's only if you want to have those extra additions where you want a live action clock tower or you want a live action be able to pay via direct deposit. That's what the time subscription does. Okay. All right. Number 12, Rich Report breaks down all employees' pay deductions and tax for a single payroll run.
I would say C.
Yeah, so so earlier we saw the summary, right? The payroll summary where you get to see the details of the pay of the employees, um, earnings, deductions, and everything. This one gives you the detailed version of everything. So it gives you every single point where they are getting paid, how many deductions they're being taken, and so on and so forth. So in this case, letter C is correct. It's the payroll detail report. Okay. Number 13. Okay. How do you pay a salary employee for vacation?
got to be B.
B for sure. Okay, you're gonna be using the vacation payroll item and then enter in the hours, right? We already saw an example of that. Okay. Last question of the day is question 14. Okay. When employees are on direct deposit, how can they see their pay stub? So, again, if you have that option to allow your employees to have direct deposit, how are they able to see their information?
It's going to be D.
D, both B and C, they are going to log into the workforce. Okay, right again. So if you are going to have, so in the very beginning of this book, yes, you can go ahead and create accounts for your employees to go ahead and clock in their own hours. But by doing so, you're having them actually register to the workforce themselves so they can fill out their W 4 application and everything for you. So, again, QuickBooks is also making it very mainstream to have everything streamlined into one section. So, all you have to do is just, if you don't want to collect all the W 4 form from each individual employee and so on and so forth, then send them a link and let them fill it out for themselves for you and have them register to the workforce. Okay. And then letter C, you can also print out their pay stub information on plain paper. Yes. Okay. Yes, right. You can hand that information to them if they want to. Right. But everything's more digitalized nowadays. Okay. All right. So that concludes today's lesson for chapter 14.